I've had this Citizen Panda stored away for quite a while, and when I took it out the battery was on low, so I used my Coolfire charger to give it a little boost, but the battery wasn't having any of it and it soon went back down to charge. So what I've had to do is replace the battery. So with some research I found the part that I need, and some call this a capacitor, others call it a battery. Well, I have to say, let's get into there, I'm going to use my new carbon tweezers, that this is just like a normal battery, but it has this extra part on top that is actually welded on there. So let me just get that out. Oh my god, behind the camera is a nightmare. There it goes. So this is in a anti-static bag, but that is the negative side and that is the positive side. So if I just give you a little close up there, you can see the type of battery it is, and that's a Panasonic. And these are about £20. And how easy is it to fit? Just a matter of taking the back case off and replacing the battery. There is nothing actually really more involved than that. So I don't know what the big fuss is. So on this Citizen, it has a charge meter at the top, very flash, I know, and at the moment the hand is pointing here, which is full, and obviously when it's down here it's going to need charging or it's going to need a charge. So when I replaced the battery with a new one, the hand was roughly around about here, I would say. It sort of just jumps either from there to there to there or to there. So there's only 4 sort of positions. I used my Coolfire charger consistently for 3 days for this hand to hit the high. So just to let you know that these batteries really do need a lot of charge. I mean, it'd be handy to actually leave it in direct sunlight, but with the heat I don't really want to sort of abuse the watch in that way. But with a Coolfire light from a new battery, it took 3 days, and I don't think it's even fully charged, as this needle does sometimes drop into sort of like the medium section here. Anyway, that is the state of the battery at the moment. So I thought, why not give you a little bit of an introduction to this watch. I would say that this watch is getting on for a good 10 years, and it didn't help leaving the battery in the charge status because I've basically ruined it. It's good to keep these fully charged, the old rechargeable batteries. Anyway, so why did I buy this watch? Well, basically this is because of the movement. It is an echo drive, meaning it's solar powered, but it's the type of movement, and this is called a Meca-Quartz. Now, if you don't know what a Meca-Quartz is, this is basically 2 movements that use the same battery. That's all inside this case. And yeah, it has some thickness, which I will cover. So basically, the first movement is quartz. So this will be running your main hour and minute hands. This will be running the second hand. Here you can see it just ticking like a regular quartz. On this particular model, it actually does have an alarm. So the alarm is also used on that quartz side. So what is the Meca? Well, the Meca is to do with the chronograph, and this is a 12-hour chronograph measuring the minutes here, and it's also using a hand here to calibrate the 1/5 of a second. So if I just start it, you're going to hear this, and this is very unusual. You ready? It has a very mechanical sort of click. Also, when I stop it and then start it again, and it has a very firm click. And the reason why is because the chronograph side, it is all mechanical, and the only thing that's running that is from the battery, well, from the sort of quartz side, but everything else is going through all the gears. So with this dial here, which is measuring the minutes, as the hand ticks around, you can see this, look at that, ticking 1/5 of a second, it is slowly moving this dial over to the 1 minute. So maybe I'll just move that hand back a bit and push it back in. And you saw that when I pull the crown out, only the hacking is on the main time, whereas that is still running because it's just using the battery. There is no stopping that. So when you push the crown back in, I now have the seconds ticking away on the time while the chronograph is still running. But it's this dial here I want to show you, where this is actually moving. The further this goes around the dial, it sort of nudges on to the next minute. And you'll also have this on the hour hand here. This is a 12-hour hand like I mentioned, and this will also move very, very slowly. So when I stop this chronograph and then reset it, you'll see that this resets very, very quickly. So keep an eye on this dial and the hand. And I'm telling you, this is so quick, you probably won't even see it. There you go. That was just instant. And that is basically what the Meca-Quartz is. So you're having the reliability of the quartz and the precision of the quartz, but it's still using a mechanical feature, as most sort of quartz chronographs, they are all controlled with motors. So it's all very, very sort of tick, tick like this. Whereas this being Meca-Quartz, you really do have that sort of big, loud noise at the beginning before you start it, and then you stop, and then it's just fly back so quick. And I'm really sort of fascinated by this movement, so I wanted to have a watch that sort of would match this. And I know there is some big names like IWC and I think GN-4W-S have these Meca-Quartz as well, so they aren't cheap. For this Citizen, I think it was around about sort of £400 or £500 when it was new, and sort of pretty much good luck if you're looking for a used one to get a good deal, because they're still going to be around about sort of 250, possibly 300 and more, because of this sort of type of movement. It's also the type of watch as well, because being that this is a Panda style, it's more attractive as well. And I really do like that they've got these 3 sub dials down here, and you have all this blackness going around on the chapter ring. So I want to get a bit more into the detail here and show you some really sort of all the finer details, should I say. Let's go geek. Come on, let's go geek about it. Let's kick off with some Lume straight away, and you're probably seeing this great big pip at the top here. Now that is very, very unusual indeed, and this is really nothing but just sort of cosmetic. But for every hour market there is Lume. You've got the minute and hour hand, and that is all you have. Unfortunately, there isn't any Lume on any of the indicators, and it's sort of a bluish sort of green hue, should I say, and not bad strength as well. Anyway, that is the Lume side covered. So the dial used on this is a sort of a pearl white sort of silver, and it's using the famous Geneva stripes. And on the actual sort of the sub dials, the black, these are your solar panels, and this is just black, and you can actually see a little bit of the sort of connections there. You can see that little line there. You also get one there going all the way through, and a little L on there as well. You can see that as a bit of an angle, and this is all to help charge the battery. And I do like it that it's just very, very sort of hidden like that. I also like that the dials, they're very, very simple, whereas this just has those little sort of minute markers, and then it's signed with the 60, 20 and 40. And on the second here, the second sub dial for the main time, it's just got those little markers every sort of 5 seconds. And then on the hour marker here, it's got it on the 12, 3, 6 and 9. Now I've just noticed there is a polished edge on all of the subdials going around. Look at that bit of detail there. That is really, really nice. Wow. I would say it has that sort of cheekiness of stealing from IWC on that side. And I like the quirkiness of the sort of charging dial here. It's a little bit OTT having this great big pip at the top here, but I like the sort of style of that sort of hand there, or the needle, or however you want to call it. It does have a sort of chamfered edge on there. And also on the hands, I like this sword hands here. These are all polished sort of chrome, and they have that sort of edge as well. And then you have the sort of main second hand here with a sort of a little bit of design on the end there. And then hidden below that, you see this here, this red hand. That is all to do with your alarm. It's a 12-hour alarm, and it's all adjusted through this little hidden crown here. Look at that. I do like that, how that's just so flush, and so basically just a matter of just pulling it out to the only position, and then you can turn it. It is a pretty much sort of guesswork. It's not 100% accurate, but it gives you an idea. So that would be 6 o'clock. That would be sort of roughly 6:15, 6:30, 2:15, and then back to sort of 7 o'clock. And then once you have it to your desired position, so it's just after 8 o'clock where it sits there, then it's a matter of pushing the crown back in because you're finished with the adjustment. And then look at the on off here. When I push now the crown, I push it in, it now turns it on. So when the alarm goes off, it's just a matter of pushing the crown again and it turns it off. How easy is that? So let's sort of give you a little bit of a demo. Take it up to about here, I think. It's just after 10 o'clock, so about there, I think. Push the crown in and then turn it on. Now, that should take a few seconds before it latches on, and there it goes. So it has a sort of a two-tone alarm, and that will go off for 20 seconds. So, as I said, to turn it off, just push the crown in, and the alarm is done. You've just seen the indicator there just go from high down to medium. It still needs lots of charging. So what else is there? Well, let's just pull the crown out so I can just move this out of the way. And here, right in the center, is WR200, and it is 200 meters water resistant. Now, it's not a diver's rating, but it is 200 meters, especially for pushers of this type. So that is very, very unusual. I'd like to add that it does have a screw down crown. Let's have a little bit more detail on that. And then you can see it is properly molded with the Pro Master logo there, and it's got a little bit of wobbliness there as well, which I guess that's all to do with a bit of protection. And then this part here is all polished and it's fixed with a couple of screws, which is a nice bit of detail because the rest of the case on the top is all brushed. Let's get on the case and let's start off with the lugs, because these lugs are completely crazy. I mean, they are, for me, they're like a combination of the end link and the lug. And these parts here, that is the beginning of the bracelet, and it's all brushed and it has drilled out lugs as well. And look at the sort of curve on that and the sort of design and the squareness, and wow, I just really find that very, very unusual, and I like it a lot, especially when it's facing towards you like this. You have this arch here, so it gives you the illusion that these lugs are actually pointed, but they're not. I see it as a 70s style, that's for sure. That's all brushed at the top. It continues all the way around. And then you come to this side here. It has a very interesting inverted pusher there, which I will show you. And here is the crown for the alarm. And then just on the underside has this sort of cutout here. And this is to allow for your fingernail or thumbnail to pull that crown out. But all the underside, that is all polished. And on top, it's nothing but this brushing. You can see on this side here where the secondary crown is for the alarm, it has this sort of edge and then it comes back in again. And I just like that. It just keeps the crown very hidden in there, and especially when the crown is on, can't sort of press that and knock it so it turns off. It does require a good firm push, and I would say that also for the pushers as well. This really does require some effort to actually get that going, so I guess that's where the 200 meters comes from. So what does this little pusher do? Well, basically it's a reset. So looking at the instructions, what it says, you wait till the subdial here, the second hand, reaches 12 o'clock position, and then you pull the crown fully out. So as this has a 2-position crown, I'm just going to pull that out to the first position, and that's to adjust the date, which I will cover in a moment, and wait for that to hit the 12, and then you pull it out completely. Now, using a dull object, I'm going to use a toothpick. I'm going to push on that and then push the button down the bottom here, the flyback on the chronograph. So I push that in, give that a press. It makes a little chirp. And then, did you see that the actual solar hand moved up to the high position? And then once you've got the time adjusted, like so, and you've got the date. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you what happens, because it does have a date window down here. You've probably seen it already, but let's just fly through that and just show you how that sort of works as well. That is how fast the hands move. So it's not one of those fast moving hands. It does feel very, very firm. There it goes, it's about to change. How accurate is that? It's stuck in the half, it's not moving. Is it a matter of 12 and it snaps? No, oh, just after 12, not bad. So once it's done the snapping, then you can adjust the time. So let's just put it, this is the thing, when you're doing a tutorial, hands are just everywhere. Let's just put it back into that position there. And then just give that a little push, and then you get some animation here on the top, and then it settles back down to the medium. So if I pull the crown out just to the first position, this will change the date. Now is it backwards? No, that's it. So it's counterclockwise. And it's actually quite fast. Now I must say that you have to adjust this watch manually so it doesn't do the leap year, which is a little bit of a shame, but hey, that's it. So just pick a random date and then just push that back in. So it does have that sort of quick set date feature. Now when you're looking at the watch face on, you can see that the bezel has a very tiny lip. But when you turn it, you can see that the bezel is very deep. And now this is all polished, and you can see that the crystal does sit very proud. Now this is just a mineral crystal, and yes, I do have some chips going all the way around. Got some AR coating, but I'm not sure if I should change this and maybe go for sapphire and add double AR coating with cheese. Now the bracelet is also a thing of beauty, and yeah, you're probably stuck with this style of bracelet, but hey, this is all part of the watch, and it's very unlikely to break as well. Design on that, it has that nice edge that tapers down towards the clasp, and I have to say that the links are in 5 sections, where you have the main part there, and then this little tiny part here is actually separated there. So I really do like that, and that they are really thick and solid and very easy to adjust as well. It's just a matter of a pin that you just push out, and yeah, you can just change it quite easily. Now looking on the clasp side, this is what I really like. I like this sort of safety clasp with its written Citizen, Seiko, Citizen. Got that wrong. And here where it's got this sort of part brushed, and then you have this sort of satin finish in the center there, and then it's got 2 plummet clasp there, and then you open it up and then you'll find this surprise inside. Now I'll say this is a mix of being pressed and machined, and the quality on this is really top of the line. I would say very well made, very solid. What I really do like is that, see these cutouts here, these fit into these parts here. So when it's closed, let me just give you a demonstration once it's closed. And also I want to point out that these are like tiny little pushers, so when that folds over and you see that clamps like that, nice and secure. So when you look on the inside of the clasp, you can see that it has Citizen poking through. Now that is some detail there, isn't it? Next is the back case, and this is the first generation, and unfortunately the later ones, they got rid of all this texture and just went for a very plain smooth back case with the etching. So if I was you and you're after one of these, then I would really try and find it with this. So you have a bit of like the world there with the Citizen Echo Drive Pro Master, and then you get a lot of details around the edge, telling you not to open it. It has to be taken to a service center, but with this age, I'm just going to do it myself. And there is some more numbers, and you have the model number also on there. That is that side covered. Going into more detail, I'd say it has the tachymeter. And if you know how those work, for me that's just a bit of decoration. But the chapter ring here where it's black, I do like that they've got the 12 and they've got it all complete going all the way around. Now when I say complete, I'm going to go a bit later into something else with regards to being complete and incomplete, and because they have remade this watch, and not only that, they've also brought out a new version. So I'm just going to cover all this as well and just get a little bit nitpicky, but this is all my opinion, so don't get too excited. But hey, maybe it sort of shows you a side of how I see watches and what I'm looking for, because I am really into the details. And I mean, I really do go into the details. Like, I mean, look at the very fine markings there. This is all for the 1/5 of a second. This is really tiny. You need some really good eyes or some really good glasses. It's also got the markers in between where the Lume dots are, where the Lume sort of markers, and then you've got more. It just has that detail, but the thing is, it doesn't have that impression of being overcrowded. It still feels very spacious. I mean, from a distance, all you're really looking at is the 4 black subdials, and then you have those chrome hands. And it's not until you get a bit closer then you start seeing the really finer details. So I really do like that, and that takes a lot of sort of design and development to actually get like that. Whereas on the later ones, I think they've gone a little bit sloppy, and I'm sort of will cover this, but I think this is quite a really attractive watch, and everything just feels so balanced on it. Anyway, let's get on with the sort of other watches that I've seen of this type. Right, I've got all this set up on my iPad. I've got some various pictures I'm going to go through because I can use my pointer. So this is the first sort of re-release model, and straight off the bat they changed the casing and they've put these lugs in. Now, my personal opinion, I'm not really a fan of this. They've also, this part here where the pushers and the crown is, they've also made that all part of the case now. It's not separate with those 2 little cool screws. And here on this side, they've made it really curved down now, where the crown is just sort of there. They haven't got that sort of little bit that sticks out like on the one I have. Also changed the dial as well. So this gets some zoom and show you straight away what they've changed. Well, the first thing that sits on my eye is this triangle here. Now this just looks like the hazard warning triangle you'll have in your vehicle, and they've got this on a white stick. Now if it's sort of maybe for that sort of Daytona sort of racing car theme, then yeah, I can sort of follow that is sort of a piece from a car. But to me, that just looks very odd. It's triangular, and they've added some more detail on the sort of power reserve indicator here, the solar panel, where they've got level 1, 2 and 3. It was so simple before. They've changed the style of the hands, and I don't see a problem with these. I actually sort of kind of like these, but I still prefer this sort of hands on mine. They've now added a little bit more detail in this dial here, the minute dial, that's right, on the chronograph, by adding the extra numbers and the extra sort of markings in the middle there. And also I like to say that on this one here, this particular model, they're very proud and they like to share that it's sapphire. It's all very nice having sapphire, but the thing is, this is something that could just be put on the back case. For me, this is really sort of showing off, and really you just don't need to have this. And this dial here has now added some extra, instead of sort of 12, 9, well, you see it's now adding it in sort of various different places. So I'm not too I'm okay with that. I think that's sort of quite a nice sort of addition. I'm just not liking the sapphire down there, and they've sort of tried to hide the sort of alarm dial there by just having that in silver. Whether that has Lume, I'm not sure. And then you have the on off like so. And then having a look at the markers, you see the hour markers, you have thicker ones here, so it looks like they've made this dial here a little bit shorter, but when you go over now, they've made it a little bit squashy here. Now this is where I'm going to start sort of tearing things apart as we go through to the next watch, because I feel like this is, before it was all equal and it was all symmetrical, and now they're trying to make it a little bit more different, and then they start chopping and changing things, and I just feel like this is all just very sort of afterthoughtish. Anyway, I do like the fact that they've gone for a nice white sort of outer edge on there, but they've kept the inner edge with the black, but they've got rid of all the numbers. As you see, it's just completely stripped away from actually having the time there. So as before, I had both. Don't take this too personal. This is just my opinion and showing you what kind of details I go to. I've also noticed that on the crown, it has a little turn there. Now, why add that? Maybe it's for your thumbnail. You can push it in and get it out easier. Now, I don't mind things like this, but when it's sort of more cosmetic, let's just move on and go to the next one. Now, this is an anniversary edition. Now, they've only made 2,100 of these, and of course that matches the caliber of this watch, and they've gone for sort of that grey and black. And I must add straight away that they've gone to the normal sort of lug size, so you can change the strap. And on this version, they're actually using a crocodile strap, which is quite snappy. Down the bottom here, just a pinch to zoom, they've now made the alarm crown a lot bigger. I prefer it all nicely hidden, where here they've exposed it, but I have to say it's sort of made it a bit more tool-like, and yes, I like it, but I still prefer my original here. On this side, it seems like they've kept it all the same as mine. Now, going a bit more into the dial, it still has the tachymeter on the edge there, but this is all in grey. And it doesn't have the 12, 1, 2 all the way around. They've got rid of that. But they seem to have these additional markers here. I don't know what these are, whether these are just in chrome. Here is completely missing, and then it just carries on. So in these two positions here, they've taken them away, and it looks like the Lume is now here. So let's just zoom back out. And there you can see that the Lume does sort of go all the way around. They've kept the dial with the Geneva stripes. Now I just want to go back. What do they do to this one? Oh, okay. So here they've got a white edging that goes around here. and then they've got some grooves. It looks like they've got rid of those Geneva stripes and just put grooves in there. Now, what's your thoughts on that? I can sort of live with that. Now, it does have these lines here. Now, I know there is a name for that, but the thing is, I don't know, but it just looks like oven hobs. You know, those vintage sort of old style from the 80s. And here they've gone back. They've kept the level 1, 2 and 3. And I don't know. This sort of just doesn't sit right with my eye. Now, they've changed the hands. They've gone for sort of this style. I don't know sort of like the name, but I really do like those. And the second hand there for the chronograph, that's completely white. And I do like how they've done the alarm hand there with the red tip. Now, I much prefer that than to the actual triangle. Now, it's just got Citizen up there. They've taken the echo drive away and they've put the echo drive down the bottom here in there. So is that a good thing? Anyway, I want to get into the dials. So first of all, you look at the watch. It's a lovely, nice watch, but this is the kind of details that I get into. So you see the sub dial here. Okay, so you've seen what it's like on my one. Now, they've added this extra black ring. So because the ring is larger, I guess that is prevented these here from being fitted there. So if they didn't have that ring, you would have had a nice little chrome marker there. Okay. So that's the first thing. The next thing, they've actually put lines on it. So you've already got a line. Now you've got another line. Then you've got a number and a line and so on. But the thing is, it has to be absolutely perfect. But this to me looks like that is out of alignment. Also here, you see that's stepped up and this is down. Also here, this doesn't look like it's actually right in the center. Also on the 6 there, it doesn't line up. So that is the first thing. So I'm not so sure about that. Also, it looks like something like from the rudder wheel from a pirate ship. Just has that sort of appearance. Okay, so now you've got the oven rings. I do like the hand where it's white and it does have that blacked out part there. That is the thing I do like. Now, the numbers. They've put the numbers in, but we go really into this. Look, see, you got the gap from that edge down to there. And then from the 2, it's slightly wider, and then it goes wider still on the 4, then sort of back on the 6, and then wide again. But look at the 10, and this is where it's going to ruin it for you. The 10 is actually resting on the hob, so that's going to get burnt. So when you come out, my eye is just fixed on that 0 now, and it just rests on there. Everything else has a sort of a gap, and then the 10 is just sitting there. It makes no sense. They were better off putting the 12, the 3, the 6 and the 9 and have nice even gaps, whereas the 10 doesn't go there. And this is what I mean. This is a redesign, and to me it's like you're trying to add too many details and then you come across this and you haven't looked at that properly. That is how my eye is picking that up. And also when it comes down to the bottom here, you've got the hand here for the on off. They've had to put a little notch in it, and not only have they had to put a notch in it, it's not even centralized. So it's just making things look worse. It is I don't know, it's just an afterthought. And then they've bridged these two together and then put little notches in there. Okay, maybe it's supposed to represent a gear, but really it's just a detail that I suppose that's really nitpicking. But when you come over to, I don't know why they've done this, but see, they've put the ring all the way around, and again this hasn't got the alignment. Look at that. That marker there is not aligned. Maybe that one is. Maybe it's because of the angle, but it just doesn't feel like that is centralized. And because they've put this ring around here, means that look at the date window. It's now resting on that ring, and there was no need for that before. If you had that ring taken away, that one taken away, you would have had your chrome markers put in place, and then you adjust these numbers and it would just look much better on the eye. So from a distance, first glance, everything looks great. Come in. Now look at the 10. I can't help but keep looking at that 10. I can't help looking at that notch. On this dial here, they've linked it up with the line going around because they've run out of space. They can't actually get the extra thickness on that dial, so they've made that dial without anything. So it's still a fine looking watch. Okay, I was pretty harsh on this one, but I say this is actually a really nice looking watch. Next one, I don't know. You ready for this? What were they thinking? What were they thinking? You're just going to digest this a little bit and see what they've done. Okay, the good thing they've done, they've got rid of the levels. I'm happy with that. The markers on the outside, they're all equal and they all sit nice. And I like that they've actually put a little bit of detail there. They've sort of linked that. They've gone for a waffle dial. This, yeah, it's okay. You've still got the black 4 dials. It's all great. What they've done is put a 5th dial in the middle for the alarm. Now this just doesn't make sense. For a start, they've had to squash it at the top here. Look. And then they've put a short hand. So this is all fine with the hand going up to the corner part. And then when this hand is up there, they've put a line here on the hand. They've put a shape in here so that those markers up the top here start filling up here, and then when it's in the middle here, then this sort of cut out here, I suppose that's supposed to be another arrow, matches there. But why have it? Just looks really bad, and it's just got these points here, and and it's gone through the dial. It just gets look there, they've got a nice bridge. They've got the bridge on that side, and then down here they've decided to cut it out. So what is this? You've just turned it into Panama now with a canal going through the middle, and it goes all the way through the hands. Who's ever designed this, I have no idea what you're thinking of. And here, look, because of the gap, the hand sitting in the middle is not even in the middle. You've got a gap up here as well. The dials here are the same as mine. So I must admit, say that is good. I do like that. And again, they have to show off and say that it's made of titanium. Why do they do that? Another detail that really isn't needed. Now, the case design is identical to mine, along with the bracelet and all this part here with the couple of screws. They haven't done anything there. What are you thinking, guys? Is that what? I just don't know what to say. I just think that it's just awful. So the good thing is probably because it's quite an awful watch, probably makes this one the more rarer of all of them. So this one could actually end up being the most expensive. So anyway, maybe it has a good thing like that. Let's move on to the next one. And this one is the reissue, and this is called the ball head because the pushers are now up at the 12 o'clock position. It's down here. You have the crown for adjusting the alarm. The date is now between 1 and 2. You have the on and off down at sort of like the 4 and 5 position, and here the dials have changed. But the thing is, this is still the Calibre 2-100. All they've done is just turned it around. So as you can see, that would have been at the 12 o'clock position, and now it is at the 9 o'clock position, and you have it like so. Now, I was really on the verge of actually pushing for one of these. There was one thing that my eye just kept going towards. I've got to share it with you guys, and if you own this watch, I'm really sorry, but I have to do this because I don't know what they were thinking of. It's the power reserve here. It's the darkness in the middle. It just feels so empty. Also, it has these lines. I mean, the lines aren't too bad, and it has the red hand sitting in the dock there. What I don't understand is, what is this? It doesn't make sense. It's not even at any sort of decent angle. I mean, it is sort of matching to the hand angle, but really when the hand is in that permanent position, you just have this lovely curve, and then suddenly you have this, all I can describe it as is it looks a bit like a clitoris. it looks like it's something that should have been like this and it's just fallen down. And they've gone for the triangle hand, but it's got that black backing. But this is, I can forgive this. I was so close to pulling the trigger on this one, but because of that little clitoris there, I decided I'm gonna sort of pull out, so to speak. Anyway, I've been busy. I've removed the clitoris and I've made it like this. So what do you think of that? Isn't that an 100% improvement? And then just by removing this, because you just don't need it, because you know when the hand is there, it's charged. So what do you think of that? Now, it gets better than that. I have done something else. I've put Citizen Eco Drive right in the middle as well with the 200, but it still has the Citizen and the Eco either side. So what I've done, I've removed Citizen, then I've removed that. And now look at that. How is that looking on your eye? That's before with that little thing there, and that is after. Look at it, just the littlest of subtle improvements. And look how that just feels more full. It just feels more full. Whereas this, you just have this big gap in the middle, this big dark hole. And it just seemed a little bit too, it just felt like just so empty. That is how you should have done it. I mean, really, that is fine. I mean, you could have left it like that, but it's still a black hole. It just sort of didn't need it. Whereas this, I think this is how you should have done it. So, Citizen, are you listening? I would have jumped in and bought that watch. Now, I hope you can understand why I went for this version of the Eco Drive Panda Chronograph Meca-Quartz. It's a bit of a mouthful, but this one to me is the most pleasing on the eye. This one feels like they actually put the greatest amount of design and effort into it, whereas the later ones, yeah, I think you were just trying to be clever and well, with a bit of Watch Up 69 geekiness. I've sort of may have ruined it a little bit for some of you, but anyway, don't take it personal. This is just opinions. Anyway, that is the times, the chronograph times, the whatever you want to sort of go. We go for that. I think I'm going stir crazy. Been in too long. Anyway, thanks for watching.